made to you so special? Nothing. I'm just a kid from Brooklyn.
I'm from Brooklyn.
Brooklyn!
Were you scared of that? Not at all, huh?
Nope, I'm from Brooklyn.
You're from Brooklyn, huh?
Okay guys, Frank Stout, just a guy from Brooklyn. And so we are continuing with this countdown of the top 100 movies of the 80s. If you haven't seen parts 1 and 2 of this 3-part series, I strongly recommend you go and check it out to get the full experience. But now we are up to the final 15. Yes, this is the final countdown. These are the bangers. These are the heavy hitters. These are the cream of the crop.
These are the Cubans, baby. These are the Cohibas, the Monte Cristos.
This video is dedicated to Louis Gossett Jr. Just found out he passed away. An acting legend, a true staple of the 80s with hits like Enemy Mine, An Officer and a Gentleman, The Principal, and of course, Jaws 3D. May he rest in peace. When he was on, he was on.
We'll suffocate the bitch. Shut down the pumps.
Are you sure?
Why don't we blow it up?
Listen, nephew. It's a $2.5 million turbine that's not going to go up in smoke because of some damn fish. Now shut the pumps down.
And without further ado, let's get to the movies. But first, we must cover my rules. Rule number 1, spoilers. I really don't want to have to worry about spoilers. These movies are very, very old. I'm going to give this a hard spoiler warning. Rule number 2. This is and always is a favorites list, not a best list. So the way that you can converse with me about my list is to show me yours through the comments section. Since this is my final video covering the 80s, I'm going to throw in a few more honorable mentions, some obscure movies, and they really scream 80s, and I really think that you would have some fun with them. Honorable mention number 1 is going to be Youngblood. Ever since he could lace up his skates, Dean Youngblood was the fastest and most skilled hockey player on the ice. Unfortunately, his pugilism skills are equally terrible. Despite his older brother failing and losing an eye for his troubles, Dean tries to make a name for himself in the Canadian Junior Hockey League. A very fun hockey movie with Rob Lowe, Patrick Swayze, and blink and you will miss him, Keanu Reeves. My favorite scene, some rookie hazing as the team gives Youngblood a clean shave.
Ding ding, paging Dr. Sutton.
The doctor is here. Scalpel.
Scalpel.
Shaving cream.
Shaving cream.
Shaving cream.
Honorable mention number 2 is Killer Clowns from Outer Space. There's really no point in explaining this because it's all right there in the title. This low-budget horror movie overachieves with being colorful, strange, and having some really comical and inventive kills. The true definition of dark humor. The design of the clowns is unique to say the least, but even the design of their spaceship and weapons are really clever. My favorite scene, the boxing scene.
What are you gonna do? Knock my block off?
And my final honorable mention, number 3, is Angel Heart. This movie was recommended to me by John Imbergio. What a guy. While I was finishing up my 31 Unholy Horror ranking for Halloween last year, he told me to check it out. And after seeing it, I was kicking myself in the head for not including it in my list. I knew of the movie because it sparked some controversy over a scene with Cosby Kid Lisa Bonet and Mickey Rourke. They had to actually shave 10 seconds off of it to avoid an X rating. And rumor has it, Bill Cosby was furious. Bonet eventually left the Cosby Show over creative differences, so make whatever you want of that. But focusing on that one scene does the movie a disservice because it's a very complex psychological horror thriller with some pretty twisted stuff. My favorite scene, all the scenes involving Robert De Niro with long hair and Lee press-on nails, playing the devil himself, often eating eggs, which apparently are symbolic of souls. And kicking things off at number 15 is The Lost Boys. Joel Schumacher gives us the ultimate 80s vampire experience, and ironically he fashioned it from the Lost Boys from Peter Pan lore. You can never grow old and you can never die. Brothers Michael and Sam move to a small town in Northern California. While Sam meets a pair of comic book nerds, the Frog Brothers, Michael soon falls for Star, who turns out to be part of a vampire gang led by David, played by Kiefer Sutherland. After David coaxes Michael to drink some of his blood, it's up to Sam and his friends to save Michael and Star from the undead. I can't go any further without mentioning oiled, muscular, ponytailed saxophone guy. The vampires have that heavy metal look, which is so different from the usual gothic vamp stuff. But David goes even more 80s with a platinum mullet. Sutherland is beyond cool as he spits out his lines smoother than silk.
Drink some of this, Michael. Be one of us.
My favorite scene, Michael and David have a final fight. Coming in at number 14 is The Return of the Jedi. The third, and at that time final chapter in George Lucas's Star Wars trilogy did not disappoint, with Luke Skywalker finishing his training off screen and looking for an explanation after discovering that Darth Vader is his father. The movie is a tad lopsided as he and the rebels must complete a side quest to rescue Han from the space gangster Jabba the Hutt. But we wouldn't have it any other way, as this gives us Slave Leia. The huge sets were epic and bold as we get the deserts of Tatooine, the forest moon of Endor, the Emperor's control room, and arguably the greatest space battle in movie history. But we gotta talk about the teddy bear in the room, and that's those lovable Ewoks, who pretty much saved the galaxy. Back in the 80s, they were a pretty big deal, as they ended up getting their own television specials and a Saturday morning cartoon. My favorite scene, Luke looks over and sees the Force ghosts. Coming in at number 13 is The Terminator. While Conan got Arnold's foot in the door, this kicked down that door and made him a superstar. This sci-fi slasher adjacent film is brilliant, with Arnold playing the T-800 cyborg sent back in time to kill Sarah Connor, the mother of the future leader of the resistance against the machines. But there's hope, as soldier Kyle Reese is also sent back to intercept the Terminator to give the winning future a chance. I recently saw a meme pointing out that Sarah slept with a guy she barely knows and who's been wearing a hobo's pants for a couple of days. I can only hope that he had a minute to take a shower before they got it on. And I gotta say,
Him and her got it on. Woo-wee!
But the real head scratcher here is the paradox ending, which could leave a guy's brain in a twist with all that chicken or the egg shit. My favorite scene, after blowing up the Terminator using a truck, Sarah realizes it's not over. Coming in at number 12 is Platoon. The quintessential Vietnam War film makes you feel like you're actually there, thanks to Oliver Stone's first-hand knowledge. You follow Taylor, played by Charlie Sheen, a volunteer private thrown into what he refers to as hell. His platoon is full of colorful characters trying to survive, but a skirmish between two of its leaders, Barnes and Elias, divides the group, and now the Viet Cong might not be your biggest enemy. Make no bones about it, as this is not a movie to inspire you or make you feel warm and fuzzy inside. This shows you that war is ugly and it leaves scars that you will never get rid of. Atmosphere is everything, and the powerful score aids in that. The cast is deep with the likes of Tom Berenger, Willem Dafoe, Forrest Whitaker, and even Johnny Depp plays a small role. My favorite scene, Elias gets run down after he's left behind because Barnes said he was already dead. A really powerful scene. Coming in at number 11 is A Nightmare on Elm Street. Wes Craven gives us a supernatural slasher movie for the ages as teenagers Nancy and her friends are being stalked by a burned killer with a razor glove who invades them in their dreams. Although Freddy is a household name now, he's more in the shadows in this and hasn't been fully fleshed out yet. But the dream imagery and kills are terrifying as he takes them down one by one, leaving them helpless and their parents oblivious to what's really going on. It's been well documented that Wes and producer Robert Shea had differences of opinion, and so a lot of the scenes at the tail end will have you questioning what is dream and what is real. Then there's the theory that the entire movie is Nancy's dream. But at the end of the day, it's all about the fact that this movie scared the shit out of me the first time I saw it. My favorite scene, Tina's death. It is truly brutal, with a rotating room, which was later used for the movie Breaking 2, Electric Boogaloo. Kicking things off for my top 10 is Ghostbusters. Bill Murray, Dan Aykroyd, and Harold Ramis form a group of scientists that have developed the technology to trap and incarcerate ghosts. And since they just lost their jobs, they go into business and become a sensation. You also have Sigourney Weaver and Rick Moranis rounding out the cast. The extremely catchy theme song, Slimer, Gozer, the Keymaster, the Gatekeeper, and of course, the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. Having these comedy legends play off each other and the rest of the cast just keep the laughs coming. Murray and Ramis already had chemistry from their previous hit, Stripes, and Aykroyd and the rest here have the chops to keep up with them. This clearly shows with my favorite scene as Venkman notices some differences with Dana.
Dana, it's Peter.
There is no Dana. There is only Zoo.
Just relax. Come on. Dana. Can I talk to Dana?
There is no Dana, only Soul.
What a lovely singing voice you must have.
Coming in at number 9 is The Karate Kid. Ralph Macchio plays Daniel LaRusso, a skinny kid from New Jersey who moves to the West Coast with his mom. He almost immediately falls for a girl named Allie with an I, and just as quickly gets his ass kicked by her ex, Johnny. It's a cruel summer indeed. He then starts school and the bullying continues. After being rescued by Mr. Miyagi, the fix-it guy from his apartment building, they develop a friendship that will change the course of their lives. Miyagi trains Daniel in karate, while simultaneously getting some contracting work for his property, which I guess is a nice bonus. But in order to gain balance in his life, Daniel must defeat Johnny and his Cobra Kai classmates in the All Valley Karate Tournament. This is right up there with Rocky as one of the greatest underdog movies of all time. My favorite scene, the chopstick scene.
Man who catch fly with chopstick accomplish anything.
You ever catch one?
Not yet.
Hey, Mr. Miyagi, look.
Coming in at number 8 is Rocky IV. Just when you thought there was no one left to fight, Rocky takes on Russia, steroids, and the people that say you should not put too many montages all in one movie. After his bestie Apollo is killed in the ring by Juggernaut Ivan Drago, Rocky seeks revenge in the only way he knows how. In many ways, this movie shouldn't work. It practically skips over the aftermath and drama of Apollo's death. Rocky agrees to fight in Russia, which makes sense, and he's doing it for no money, which to me is a little over the top, but I get it. Just like Rocky in the ring, this movie just keeps hitting you with knockout blows. It pounds on your senses till your heart says, is it inspirational? This movie makes you want to grow a beard and climb a mountain. My favorite scene, Rocky cuts Drago.
He's cut! He's cut! Russian's cut, and it's a bad cut! And now it's Rocky Balboa coming after Ivan Drago! And now the Russian wants to go on! He grabs Rocky Balboa by the throat! Balboa picking up the Russian and throws him to the ground like a wrestler!
Coming in at number 7 is Predator. Arnold Schwarzenegger leads a covert rescue team in the jungle looking to recover a team that got caught over enemy lines. But after finding soldiers that aren't supposed to be there skinned alive, they realize something isn't right. Well, that and the dreadlocked alien hunter with stealth technology that wants to hang them for display over his fireplace. This is as 80s macho as it gets, with guys like Carl Weathers and Jesse the Body Ventura flexing their biceps and spitting out one-liners.
You're hit. You're bleeding, man.
I ain't got time to bleed.
But the boasting soon turns to screaming as the predator stalks his prey until only Arnie is left. There's the argument in some horror circles that Predator is in fact a slasher movie, which in turn would make Arnold Schwarzenegger the greatest final girl of all time. But I see it as something more unique, as this is action, war, sci-fi, and horror all mixed into one. But my favorite scenes are ironically comedy, as Shane Black is there to give you some really dirty jokes to break down the tension.
The other day, I was going down to my girlfriend. I said to her, "Jeez, you got a big pussy. Jeez, you got a big pussy." She said, "Why did you say that twice?" And I said, "I didn't." See, it's because of the echo.
Coming in at number 6 is Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan. Trek TV series villain Khan, a genetically enhanced superhuman with a huge weed up his ass, escapes, takes over the US Reliant, and has nothing but revenge on his mind after Kirk's actions caused the death of his wife and most of his people. But upon learning of the Genesis Project, a missile capable of creating or destroying life on a planetary scale, Khan plans to acquire the device and kill Kirk, his crew, and the Enterprise. What can I say? Khan knows how to multitask. I mentioned that Return of the Jedi has arguably the greatest space battle in cinema. This is its competition. But it's not so simple. With Star Wars, the battles are more like fighter jets in dogfights, while the Trek ones are more akin to submarine battles. Kirk vs. Khan does not disappoint, as each tries to outthink and outmaneuver the other in a chess match of life and death. Khan is absolutely ruthless. He shows this best with my favorite scene, one that used to scare the shit out of me. Khan uses brain control.
Brain control? There ain't no such thing as brain control. There's mind control. Brain control is ridiculous.
As he uses little alien worms that go into your ears, wrap themselves around your brainstem, causing insanity and later death.
No.
If you're a huge Star Trek fan, I did a huge Star Trek ranking that includes not only the movies, but the television series as well. I even did my best Spock impersonation, and I had a few little special effects to add to the fun. Coming in at number 5 is A Nightmare on Elm Street Part 3, Dream Warriors. After the unique experience of Part 2, New Line wanted to right the ship and give us an Elm Street more akin to the original. They bring back Craven, add some new writers, throw in a few legacy characters, and expand on the lore. This movie feels like a huge blockbuster, and yet it's still a low-budget slasher movie. They achieved this by making it very special effects heavy. Freddy's kills are visually stunning and extremely unique to that of its victims and their individual fears. I would argue that this still has the scary factor, yet containing some new dark comedy. Later entries would just go too far with that comedy. The character development is so strong that you truly root for these kids to survive, each of them discovering their dream power, something new and absolutely genius. It also takes place in a hospital, which is always fun, and Robert Englund's performance is fantastic as always. The movie's popularity made New Line a player, and Elm Street transcended into pop culture. He was literally everywhere. Toys, music, clothes. Freddy even had his own hotline. My favorite scene, Taryn's death. Coming in at number 4 is The Goonies, the ultimate 80s adventure comedy about a group of kids searching for treasure to save their parents from losing their homes. But standing in their way is the Fratellis, a ruthless crime family on the run, not to mention One-Eyed Willie, the famous pirate who's left behind lethal booby traps to prevent anyone from getting to his jewels. To call the Goonies special would be an understatement, as these lovable kids will steal your hearts. Of all the movies on this list, this is the one that takes me back to my 80s childhood, trekking through the neighborhood on dirt bikes and getting into all types of trouble while your parents have no clue as to what's going on because cell phones haven't been invented yet. Whether it's Mikey, Brandon, Mouth, Chunk, Data, Andy, or Steph, you truly have someone to relate to here. My favorite scene, Mouth offers to translate for Mikey's mom.
Boxes, forget the suitcases. Clark, can you translate all of that?
Why, certainly, Miss Walsh.
Oh, that's wonderful. Thanks. What are you doing?
La moto va nene primer cajón. La coca y la rapidez va nene segundo. La heroína en el de abajo. Siempre hay que separar las drogas.
Coming in at number 3 is Raiders of the Lost Ark. This is now known as Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Lost Ark, but back in the 80s it was just known as Raiders of the Lost Ark. Harrison Ford plays Indiana Jones, an archaeologist who's hired by the government to find the Ark of the Covenant before the Nazis do in a race to power through supernatural means. Much like your standard RPG video game, he must search for items and people to achieve his quest. You follow Indy across the globe, avoiding booby traps, throwing punches, and cracking his whip. I've always found the mystery and the lore of the Ark, which contains the pieces of the Ten Commandments, absolutely fascinating. And Indy must reopen some old wounds as his ex Marion and her father have what Indy needs to locate the Ark's resting place. The scenes where Indy uses the Staff of Ra in the map room are epic. But my favorite scene, the opening of the Ark, is what makes these movies special, as it goes full-on horror, and I wouldn't have it any other way. And my runner-up to this huge 100 movie ranking is at number 2, Aliens. At a time where sequels were never thought to rival the original, James Cameron defies the odds and expands on Ridley Scott's sci-fi horror masterpiece Alien in ways never imagined. Although this is clearly science fiction, it feels so authentic. The level of detail from the Marines' uniforms, weapons, and vehicles to even the aliens' lair gives the movie such an immersive experience. This is truly world building at its best. Ripley returns to LV-426 as a consultant to a group of space marines looking to investigate the disappearance of a colony that's been living there for quite some time. But it's not long before they're completely overrun and up shit's creek without a paddle. Unlike the claustrophobic nature of the first movie, this is more war action film, yet still having that horror element. The character Newt gives Ripley that motherly aspect with someone to protect and that gives credence to her going full Rambo at the end of the film. As the title suggests, there's multiple aliens this time, but my favorite scene is obviously Ripley and Newt encountering the egg-laying alien queen.
There can be only one.
And my number one 80s movie is The Empire Strikes Back. The dark second chapter to the Star Wars trilogy is its finest, as Darth Vader is hell-bent on tracking down Luke Skywalker, the young rebel pilot who destroyed the Death Star. Meanwhile, Luke breaks off from the rebellion to seek out Master Yoda to be trained as a Jedi. At the same time, Han, Leia, Chewie, and the droids can't seem to shake the Empire fleet. We once again get epic sets with the snow planet Hoth, the swamps of Dagobah, and the elegance of Cloud City. But unlike Star Wars, also known as A New Hope, which introduced all these characters, this movie is all about relationships. Well, not every relationship. It also cemented Darth Vader as one of the greatest villains of all time. He is absolutely ruthless in this. Having Frank Oz puppet Yoda, which I still say is better than the CGI one to come, is genius, as he is the standout here. And his training of Luke is a huge highlight. Luke prematurely taking on Vader without full control of the Force to save his friends is also epic, which of course leads to the very famous "I am your father," one of the greatest moments in movie history. Choosing a famous scene is almost impossible, but the Millennium Falcon avoiding the fleet by flying and eventually hiding in an asteroid field is one I enjoy.
Down, sweetheart, we're taking off.
I see it, I see it.
We do. The cave is collapsing.
No cave.
Well guys, that about wraps things up. I'd just like to say that some of your favorite 80s movies may have not shown up on my list. They probably are on my full list, which is 300 strong, and I cherish every one of them. I find it so interesting. Movies in the 2000s often go back to the 80s. You even have shows like Stranger Things, just basically show how special the 80s were. This is Frank Stout, just a guy from Brooklyn, saying peace, baby.
So my name on marquees found down on Broadway. Even if it ain't what it seems, I got a pocket full of dreams, baby. I'm from New York, concrete jungle.